Good evening, everybody. Whoa, that is loud. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone here on our panel. This kind of started last year. We were putting together a youth leadership board, and I started talking to the kids that were turning 18, and none of them voted. They had excuses about not knowing how to do it, not knowing where to go. And so we started talking about we need to start putting the word out. And so I have these three great young people here who have helped put this together. So how we're going to do this tonight is I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we're going to have everybody have 2 minutes that they can just introduce themselves and kind of tell us why they're running for office. And then from there, they have a few questions they want to ask, and then they'll come around with the microphone to see if you have any questions. So why don't we go ahead, Will, if you want to.
Hi, I'm Will Smichek. I'm a senior at Pewaukee High School here.
My name is Arya Monastana, and I'm also a senior at Pewaukee.
I'm April Miller, and I'm also a senior at Pewaukee.
Okay, thanks. Jeff, do you want to start? Yeah, if you can all make sure that your mics are on, there's a button to turn on the top. Yep, you're on.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out for tonight. My name is Jeff Knudsen. I'm the village president. I don't have anybody running against me except for myself, so I don't have any competition.
Don't speak up, Jeff.
Well, yeah, I understand. Wait later, Bob, next year. I'm running again because I really love the village of Pewaukee. I've been born and raised in the town, and moved to the village back in '94. Got involved in politics back in '99 or 2000 when one of the trustees at the time said, you know, instead of complaining all the time coming to the board, why don't you get on a board? So I did, and then the next thing I know, I'm running for village trustee. And then after that, village president, and I've been president now for, I think, past 10 years, something like that. It's been a while. It's been a lot of fun. It's been up and down. There's been a lot of improvement in the village. Some people didn't see that as improvement, but I think for the majority, I believe it's been very positive. And I'm looking forward to even more positive things coming in the next 2 years that I'm village president. And I hope everybody here will enjoy what we are going to be doing. And if there's ever a question or a comment or anything, my phone is listed. It's my cell phone, so I can't say I didn't hear the phone. So if you call, or you can text me on, or sorry, email me on my village website, please do so.
My name is Dan Sitzberger, and I'd like to thank the students, Avery and Elaine for putting this together. I think it's great. We get a chance to meet and talk about important things. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised on the south side of Milwaukee. Both my mother and father were school teachers. I'm one of 9 children. You don't see families like that anymore, but actually my parents weren't planning on having 9. They had 2 sets of twins, and I'm one of the twins. And the really tough part about the twins is they came at 11 months apart. So my mother and father were very busy. So anyhow, I was raised in a very strict environment by 2 school teachers. All you students know about school teachers. I went actually to a parochial school. My father was a big believer in education, and even though he worked in a public school, he sent his kids to a private school. It's kind of strange. But anyhow, I went to the University of Wisconsin. I have a degree in business. I worked for a company for about 15 years, and then I was lucky enough to be able to buy the company. I worked another 20 years for that company. Me and my two partners, we tripled the size of it, and recently we sold it. I moved to the village 20 years ago. Oh, okay, I'll just quickly to say, I moved to the village 20 years ago. I love the village, it's been wonderful. That's my story.
My name is Judge Melissa Murray. I'm the municipal judge for the village of Pewaukee. I'm also known as Judge Missy to most people, so feel free to address me as such. I don't have an opponent for this election, but I'm here for a number of different reasons. Number one, I'm also board president of Positively Pewaukee, and the lady who introduced this is Elaine Craning, and she's our president, executive director of Positively Pewaukee. So she's been working with the youth, and I wanted to support this endeavor. I think it's really important. I have 3 kids in their 20s, and I've always told them, you can't complain if you don't vote. So that's sort of my mom rule for them. So they're all active voters because they do like to complain. So that kind of works out well. I've been the judge for 18 years, and I've lived in the village since 1996. I grew up in Wisconsin, family of 6 girls, big believer in education, graduated from Marquette University, and I was a warrior back then. I'm old, but the basketball teams are doing fantastic. I played basketball there as well. Woohoo! So go Golden Eagles, I guess we can call them that, that's fine. And then I went to Notre Dame for law school. So I'm a big fan of education, but the reason that I've been doing this job for as long as I have, I've had the privilege of serving the residents of the village of Pewaukee is because I really, really care about the people here, especially care about the kids. And I really like to work closely with them. I have a 1-strike rule in court for kids and try and give them a chance to have a little bit of a do-over if they're ever involved in a legal issue. I'm also involved in teaching other judges. I don't know if I really know what I'm doing as much as I've been a judge for long enough. They figure I know what I'm doing, so I'm part of the education committee as well. So I just love the village of Pewaukee, want to support in any way I can, and I'm happy to take any questions you have about court or trends with kids or anything you want to know about court. I'd be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
My name is Kristen Kreiser, and I am a trustee candidate running for the village board as well. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. My father was also a school teacher. There seems to be an education trend going on here. And I attended UW Whitewater for my undergrad and have been a village of Pewaukee resident pretty much ever since. My husband and I have lived in 2 different homes here in the village for the past 13 years, and we have 2 awesome little kiddos who will both be at PLE next year as my youngest becomes a 4K-er to join her older sister. My career background consists of over a decade working in corporate retail with extensive experience in strategic planning, financial business management, and several years ago I moved into the nonprofit sector, taking a management role for a nationwide animal welfare organization, and then recently took the leap into self-employment as I grow our own small business. I also consider it essential to be involved in our schools. I'm so proud to be a part of the Pewaukee school system, as are my kids. And I'm also the chairman of the Scholastic Book Fair at PLE, which is all volunteer run. Looking for volunteers if anyone would like to join. And I'm running for the village trustee position because I want to serve our community and contribute to the longevity of the village that I love, and I know we all do too. As an engaged resident, landlord, small business owner, a mom of 2 young kids starting to come up within this community, my insight as a member of this community is quite diverse and extensive. My strategic and financial expertise and collaborative communication style, creative problem-solving skills, I believe would all be very beneficial within the trustee role. I would like to bring fresh ideas while learning from and collaborating with the seasoned board members that we have who've already put so much work and time and effort into all the progress that you've done so far.
Thank you, your 2 minutes are up.
Oh, okay, thank you. 2 minutes goes really fast.
I was on the village board for 9 years, and I am running again for village board, now that Trustee Hill, will not be running for reelection. While I've been on the village board, I've been on the library board, the Parks and Rec board. I've been involved with, fire contract negotiations, the library contract negotiations. I'm a member of the Historic Preservation Committee. My background is that I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. I've lived in New York and California, and I moved to the southeastern Wisconsin 30 years ago this year, and I have lived in the village for 20 years. We've raised 2 children here. My daughter is a sophomore in college, and my son is a senior and a classmate of yours. So, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for having this event. I didn't mention that. And I've worked with a variety of different organizations in the village. I have been a volunteer. I was a Girl Scout leader for the entire time that my daughter was in school here at the Pewaukee schools. Currently, I am a mentor for the robotics team, and I've been helping with some different videos and meal prep and things like that. My background is that I have been I was involved with the media. I was a founding member of JS Online. Okay.
I'll probably be the only one who doesn't hit the time limit. Hi, I'm Bob Rohde. First of all, I want to thank Ari and Will and Avery for sponsoring us. Your leadership and what you're showing is fantastic. Elaine, Positively Pewaukee, thank you very much for also sponsoring it. I'm also happy to say that I have never met Judge Judy in her working room. Okay, happy to say that.
There's always time, Bob.
I have been part of the Pewaukee community for 61 years. In fact, I can see my locker from high school right over here, in between Coach Opie and Coach Lecker's room at that time. I have been volunteering for the village and actually the city town of Pewaukee for 31 years. And it's really about that willingness to volunteer and also be a village trustee is my way of paying back the community and honoring those that contributed to my family's life and to my life. I truly feel we're blessed to live in Pewaukee and to live in Wisconsin. There are going to be challenges in the future, but I truly believe that my skill sets in people management, my ability to analyze situations, and my strategic thinking will continue to benefit the village. Retired in 2015, and worked for a large consumer products company, was a category team leader, and dealt with brand strategy development and analysis. Other than that, I'm looking forward tonight. Anybody has any questions for me afterwards, be more than happy to talk to you all. So it's been an honor to be part of this group, an honor to be part of be a trustee for the last four terms.
She did 2 seconds left.
Nicely done. Great. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Krasovich. I was elected trustee back in 2021, but I would really say that that election was the culmination of a lifetime in service. I'm also the current volunteer president of the Friends of the Pewaukee Library. I'm the vice president of the Friends of Fine Arts here at Pewaukee High School, very involved with the Autism Society of Southeastern Wisconsin, and was appointed to the Governor's Autism Council back in 2019. Some friends kind of prodded me back in 2021 to take on this additional role, and I have really enjoyed it. I know that some have come to the position of trustee because they have a particular issue in mind. It's actually not the case for me. I just am a person who really believes in rolling up the sleeves and getting started and helping to build a better Pewaukee while staying true to the wonderful values that we have here as this great small community. I am going to give back the rest of my time, but first, because I'm last, I actually get to ask us all to give a round of applause to these great students and to relate it positively to Pewaukee.
So again, the kids are gonna ask, some questions, and then we'll take it to the audience, and again, you have 2 minutes to answer, please.
How does the local election affect the youth? Sure. Heather, do you wanna go?
Yes, I do. Well, since I have two children, or they aren't children anymore, they're adults, who are of voting age, I think that it's terribly important for them to vote in the elections, and both of them did go and vote. And whatever they decide and whoever they want to vote for, that's totally up to them, but it's so important for you to be involved in the process. Because quite frankly, you can't really complain about it if you aren't voting and you aren't, trying to be a part of the solution. And if you don't vote, it's so unfortunate, it really is. I hope that you all do. And I know that when you go to college even, you'll have the opportunity to vote and register there as well. They make it very easy for you.
Thank you.
Alright, this one is for Mr. Rohde. Where can I find more resources to educate myself about each of these candidates here?
I gotta believe that just about all of us will have some sort of a Facebook presence in the future. You'll be finding out some information obviously tonight in regard to those opinions. And all of us, I think, will be more than happy to answer any questions you would have in regard to how things are run, the importance of it. When Avery asked the questions, the importance of local elections, your vote in a local election, because there's so few votes compared to a state or national level, has more of an effect at the local level than probably any other election that you're going to be part of, other than maybe here at school. There are a lot of major decisions that are made at the village board level that affect how the area is developed, that affects your taxes, that affects a lot of your everyday happenings that go on, whether it has to do in the parks or on the roads or things like that. So the power that you have is really important, especially at this local level. And so I think the key is there's going to be more information available. I have information available, and I would think a lot of these people also have information available that would give you more specific detail about what we feel, what we believe in, and what we've done in the past.
I'll pose this question to the far side over there. So how would I, like as a student? Yeah, sure. How would I, as a student, benefit from voting at the local level as opposed to any other sort of more grand scheme, so as to say?
Well, this is America, and we have the ability to change things, to use our votes to affect policy and different things. I just think the voting is so important. So many countries, so many people in the world don't have that ability, don't you know, the place where you can start with nothing and end up with a lot. Hard work pays off, and it all starts with a vote, really. Vote for the guy that you align with, and it's really, really important. And you need to start as soon as you can and develop a habit, or you know, you need to vote in all the elections, and then you can say whether you're unhappy or if you don't vote, you don't really have a choice or a say in the outcome, I believe. So it's really important.
So my next question is for Kristen. And what is your platform as a candidate, and what prompted you to run?
I have to keep checking this in. Thank you for the question, Avery. So what prompted me to run, as I alluded to a little bit before, was I've been a resident in the village of Pewaukee for quite some time, and I feel like it's really important to get a variety of opinions and ideas and candidates on the board to represent us. So that's one piece of it. The second piece was I truly believe that I can add value to the board. So based on my background, being like a strategic thinker, discovered, you know, I've spent most of my career trying to do more with less from a private sector side, which is something that we all have to look at as challenges come about in the future, you know, at the budget, for example. The other piece I think is really important is that I have young kids growing up in this community, and it's very important to me that they, the longevity of Pewaukee is preserved for their childhood and onward, and that the success of our village continues to thrive. And seeing that, you know, I have young kids, and being maybe a different perspective than some of the people whose kids have graduated or have left the community, or possibly even now are having grandchildren, I think that provides a diverse demographic perspective that also speaks to from a lot of those young families that are in our community, and to be a voice for them as well as the balance.
Okay, if anybody has a question up here, Ava's gonna come around with the microphone. And please, state who you would like to answer the question, please.
Oh, so it has to be directed towards
Yeah, you don't
a
have
single
to
person?
have anybody answer if you want, it's just we're trying for time.
Sure. So my question is for candidates who have previously served on the board, and I wanted to see how did you uniquely contribute to the board, and if you were away for any amount of time during your time away, what have you learned that you will bring to the table if you're re-elected? So
I'll take a swing at that. That's okay. I didn't have a stream of questions, so if that's okay, I'll start.
if possible, I don't know how many candidates we have who have previously, I think.
3 of us.
Two. So, yeah, thank you.
Great. I'm a big believer in the idea that participation builds a better democracy. It's one of the reasons I really want the students to vote. They can see the differences being made right here at ground level in Pewaukee. The things that we're voting on affect the students, they affect all of us. A couple of the things that I worked on in my 2 years on the board has been increasing the transparency and access of the village board. I really am a big believer that we need to bring the government to the people, because you're the ones who have the say up here. It's not what I think that matters, it's what the residents and constituents think that matters. So beginning with our next meeting, we will be streaming for the very first time, and that's something I'm really excited about. I was also involved in efforts to respond to some neighborhoods right near the school that had significant safety concerns that had gone unaddressed, I'm sad to say, for many years. And with collaboration, working with village staff, working with even the police department and these local residents, we were able to create some changes that have made a measurable difference and created some much happier residents and some much safer streets.
Yeah, and when I refer to some of the things that have occurred during my time on the village board, I do want to say one thing. It was the village board that did it. I might be part of it, okay, but I don't want to give anybody the impression that it was just me. You know, it was individuals that were on the village board. You know, I look at our primary responsibility that we have as village trustees is the protection and safety of the people in the village of Pewaukee. And I look at some of the things that we have done over the last couple of years in regard to police and fire that are extremely important. Just in the 2023 budget, we've standardized the weapons that the police are using and improve the quality of those weapons. We're going to be implementing flock cameras, which will have the ability to read license plates. So if there is a felon that's on the road and the flock camera recognizes it, the police know about it. If that person is also shoplifting and leaving, it is being tracked also. We also have, you know, we're in the process of finishing up with a fire contract with the city of Pewaukee. The fire department that we have is one of the highest accredited fire departments, EMS, in the state of Wisconsin. Every one of the individuals that work full-time for the fire department are paramedics, which means they can implement and give you 13 to 15 different drugs that a basic EMS cannot do. So again, it's about protecting the people. Some of the other things, just very quickly, my work having to do with the parks program and what we've done with Lehman Park, where it is a fully paid for process where the cost of rentals for the boats and things like that completely pay the cost of the park, and it's turned out to be extremely successful.
Thanks for asking that question. When I first started on the village board 10 years ago, the board wasn't terribly functional. There were a lot of personality disputes on the board, and it was unfortunate, and we didn't get too much done because there'd be a lot of butting of heads. And one of the things that I take pride in is that I was someone in the middle. I was working hard at bringing people together and not taking one side necessarily or the other, but looking at the whole picture and really working hard to get people to work together, which has laid a platform for the fantastic things that we're doing, you know, that the village board has done, such as the strategic plan. We have made so much progress with this strategic plan that we came up with, and I think it was 2018. And we were able to achieve almost everything on that strategic plan when people were working together. And it's terribly important for the village board to work together on all of these issues. So I would say for me, once we started to make progress and made so much progress with that strategic plan, I want to continue because we are really making a difference in the community, or we have made a difference in the community. And to me, I like to, not only do I like to help my community, but I like to find creative solutions to issues that we're having. It's not, oftentimes the solution isn't the most obvious one. And there's some historical knowledge that we need to have available to us to know perhaps why we didn't do that in the past.
Okay, anyone else have a question?
So we have this vacant lot downtown, what I would have remembered it as the old bank building, being that I'm a longtime Pewaukee resident. And it has a sign on it that says business opportunity. So this question is for any one of the candidates that thinks that maybe there's a different use for it. And if you would like to tell me what you think that different use might be, I would love to hear it. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll start on that. As part of our strategic plan that Heather mentioned, we put into place a land use plan which zoned different areas for the type of residents or businesses that could be going in there. Keep in mind that when we talk about the costs that we're dealing with, we have to grow tax dollars in order to pay for police and fire. Okay, the only way you're going to be able to do that is by making improvements to certain areas. We can't have, for instance, parkland all over the place because we don't derive any funding from parkland. So in the case of the old state bank building, again, long-term memory here, you know, is zoned, you know, and the planning commission would look at that and make decisions based off of how it's zoned. And whether that is a multi-use, which could be businesses on the bottom and residences on top, that those proposals have been made by the owner, but it was there was issues in regard to parking and the amount of units that they wanted to put into that area. Now, I'm not on the planning commission, so I'm only basing it off of what I know, and you know, obviously the village president and some of the planning commission members would be more familiar with that. But it's really, you know, that strategic plan, the land use plan, and then the planning commission, you know, are directing our direction on where we want to go.
Yeah, don't think I don't want to get involved in these conversations. I do, but I have 5 people running for 3 positions, and I felt it's more important for them to have the time to tell their stories and doing what they're doing. But Mr. Rohde was right on what's the strategic plan, and also the commission did look at, the planning commission did look at something that came forward to put businesses below and living quarters above, but he was also right, the parking did not work. He felt that he should be able to park on the street, and we said, no, you gotta have X amount. If you're gonna have this apartment, you gotta have this amount of parking, or this amount of residents, you have to have this amount of parking, and it just wouldn't work. So right now, the property is available. There has been another possible design coming in, but as of right now, nothing has come forward. We just hear about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing something like that. And I would also like to thank, I forgot to thank everybody for having these tonight. So, but again, if you have any questions for me, please afterwards or on my phone.
Anybody else have a question?
This is directed to the 2 candidates who have not served on the board before. I'm sorry. Could you repeat your names again?
Pardon me?
Well, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Dan.
Dan and?
Kristen.
Kristen, okay. What topic or project or problem are you most passionate about in the village that has really made you decide to step up and take this position?
I have, there are some things that I have some passion about. One, and I'm not sure if it's been settled yet or not, but the main thing is the, short-term rental, ordinance that was in front of the planning commission. I'm not sure if hasn't been settled yet, okay. This is about Airbnb rentals. We had a ordinance in the city that rentals had to be 30 days, and that's been null and void by a state law. The state now says it's gotta be at least 7 days. I would like to make the law 7 days, or at least as restrictive as possible, because I lived next to a Airbnb many years ago, and it didn't go very well. People would show up, they'd party, their dogs would be running wild, and it became kind of a problem. So that's one issue. The other issue, I think that the village has this great asset, Pewaukee Lake. And it's important to me that the lake, that this asset is managed as well as possible and utilized as well as possible. And not to say that it hasn't been, but I just think it's really important that the lake and the village get along well. So, okay.
Thank you. So I wouldn't say there's one specific issue that I'm most passionate about. I think my biggest passion really lies in feeling like I can actually add value to our community and the longevity of it with my background, my skill set, and my love for the community. I think looking at, the board, some of the things that have come up to the table, I'm always a very fact-based person. I don't make decisions based on, how I feel, or if I think something would affect me. I prefer to make, an informed decision, using laws, facts, information, and then collaborating as a whole. And those are things I've done throughout my entire career very successfully. The other piece I'd say was transparency. So I think I know the board has done a great job making it more transparent, but with the Zoom and all of those things coming forward. But I think that there's a large portion of the village residents that maybe don't feel like their voice is heard or don't know exactly everything that's going on in the day-to-day operations of the board, which is so crucial as a resident to not only be informed, but to feel like you have an opportunity to communicate that. So I think there's a big opportunity there. Not everyone can make it to a board meeting to stand there and give their 2 cents, which is a great option and avenue if you can. But if you have kids sporting events or something like that where you can't attend, I feel like there should be a stronger avenue for communication where all the residents are together, synergetic in what the board is working on, what we're all working towards together, because we're all one community. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I've got one if everybody can hear me. I've been at the shop for over 20 years now and have worked very closely with the village, and I've seen as time goes on so many budget restrictions being put on the communities because of levy limits. And I know you had mentioned you're working on the budget and stuff. Your hands are so tied, and I'm just wondering for the 2 new people, what do you think are some solutions that the village can do to help overcome some of these levy limits?
Absolutely. So coming in from the outside, I'm not going to claim to know all of the stipulations or the challenges that are faced by the budget, but one thing I do know, I've met with several people that have been on the board and shared recently throughout this endeavor and shared some of the budget challenges, the levy challenges, and things that we face. And I've heard a few of them say, which totally completely makes sense, and I understand that we've kind of tapped all the levers. And my response to him was, there's always creative solutions. I spent my career do more with less. sell more with less inventory, like make more money on the same amount of this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I think there truly are always creative out-of-the-box solutions, and sometimes having some new energy and new ideas come to the table can help those ideas grow organically, as opposed to, I think sometimes we can be strapped with our own what's been done before or what are our options. I'm a firm believer that there's always a path to success, and I have a ton of tenacity to make that happen. And with my background in financial management and budgeting from a variety of different standpoints, while I can't tell you exactly what I would do, I would love to get my hands on all that information and come up with some, siphon through all the data and come up with some great suggestions, and then work together with the seasoned leaders that are on the team that know the background and the challenges that we face, and work together to overcome that.
Well, I think that I would bring a different perspective to some of these issues. I bring a different set of eyes and a little bit different background. I managed a lot of people. There were always disputes. The disputes usually had legitimate, each side had some issues that were legitimate, and they had to be resolved, and somehow you had to resolve them to everybody's satisfaction. Everybody's got to kind of win, for it to really work. And I think a lot of it is just really common sense. One hand washes the other. You got to make it work, and you have to compromise, and you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and try to figure out where they're coming from, and then solve the issue. And I did this for many years, and it's not easy, but it's what I did for a long time. So that's what I would do.
Any other questions from the audience?
Hi, I'm just wondering if anybody knows where we're at with the quiet zone?
Yeah, I'll answer.
The federal government.
Yeah, probably the most asked question that we get overall. And for the longest time, we had to wait for the closed corridor project to be completed. Unfortunately, the closed corridor project is actually the project that put new gates, new sidewalk, closed certain parts of the road, put the barriers in, and created some havoc overall in some places. And unfortunately, it's not 100% complete yet. There's still work that has to be done. A lot of it has to do with the COVID situation and parts and things like that. We're almost to the point that all of the work is done, but there's still work that has to be done. Once it is completed, we can apply then to the railroad, the feds, essentially, to see if they will allow us to create the quiet zone. Now the question is, if we don't get a complete quiet zone, we might be able to get a partial one, where they might not use horns at night. Those are different things that we're looking at. So there's moving parts that are still being worked on right now. Closed corridor is one of those things we're waiting, and there's some litigation that we have to deal with there also. But once that is complete, we can start moving along the quiet zone, and I realize it has been a long time now. Again, when I first started as a trustee, and that was in 2017, we were talking about it then. So it's still on our radar. It's so much we can do.
Can I just ask, is there still grant money available for that? Or?
Well, the grant money that was available, that was roughly, I believe it was $6 million worth for the 11 different gates throughout Waukesha County. Going from Brookfield to, I think it went all the way out to maybe Economowoc. But that was where the Fed and state money came in to do that closed corridor project. Now that's a pretty important project, first of all, because of the fact that we all saw what happened in Ohio with that train accident. Well, we got some stuff coming through here where we don't want to have vehicles or pedestrians or anything creating problems too. So we've got to be very careful, very careful. So the closed corridor is an important part of that safety for all of the communities along the railroad. Okay.
I would just like to say that myself and the DPW and our village administrator has been in contact with the railroad and that, and we are planning on putting something on the board meeting in April to be discussed. So everybody please show up in April and we'll have everything out at that time. It hasn't even gotten to the board yet. It just happened today, so.
Okay, well, I've got one big question for everybody, and Missy and Jeff, you can answer it also. I've been asked this question many, many times. If I had a magic wand and I could do anything to improve the village, what would it be? So Chris, we'll just go down the line, and what would your one big thing be? Money's not out there.
I mean, this is fantasy. A boardwalk along the beach, right? Yes, done. Poof. That being said, I'm very excited that we do have a project in the works working with the UW system to take a look at the entire downtown triangle so that we can perhaps make sense, increase safety, and take better advantage of that beautiful lake that we have.
Yeah, I would say if I had all the money in the world, what I'd like to do is roll back the clock to the last time they did the downtown area.
Amen.
And do a better job of designing it in many different ways. You know, there are obstacles we're dealing with downtown having to do with wetlands, with the river, with the lake on one side. You know, the future is still, there's things we can do. And I like to call, you know, when I put my strategic hat on, I have this dream of this downtown triangle, which is West Wisconsin by Oakton, by Capitol Drive, and designing that area to make it parking friendly, to add a four-season park building in Kiwanis Village Park. To make this user-friendly, not only during the summer, but also user-friendly all year round, with sidewalks and things like that. So that would be my dream.
All of those are fantastic ideas that are things that we discussed in the strategic plan, and I just, you know, it would be fabulous to have all of those. But mine is a bit more practical. I would like for the levy limits and dark store legislation to be handled by the state to take care of our community, and that has not happened. And a lot of our problems would be gone because we could pay our bills more easily.
Since we're in Fantasyland, I'm going with this camp as well here, that I think our downtown, it's just such a jewel of a space within the Lake Country community. And when I go to some of the neighboring communities here, I always think that there's so much more we could do if you were to start from scratch and just redesign and re-resurrect how much great money that we could bring into the community with visitors and events and things like that, and just the ability to enjoy the downtown in a more holistic way versus just the, kind of that one strip and the safety concerns and the parking and all the different challenges that go with that, and making our lake, the prized lake of the Lake Country area. But I also think that those are things that if people really feel strongly about, even if it feels like the realm of fantasy, that maybe there should be a committee that's brainstorming like what we could do about that, or meeting with the other communities in the Lake Country area and learning from them and seeing what piece of that we could maybe take and make into reality in a reasonable way.
I guess I have two. I know. I didn't get to talk yet, so I get to say two things.
You get 4 minutes.
Which is totally totally understandable because I don't have anyone running against me, but the first would be because I'm a biker, a jogger, and a walker. I would love to have more pedestrian-friendly walking, restricted walking areas for biking, pedestrians, running. I think there are so many unsafe places here in the village, unfortunately. And I know even though I go with traffic the right way, I'm hit like at least once a month, people are distracted driving. So I think we really have an opportunity to do that. I know it's super expensive, so it might be a fantasy thing. But maybe even bigger than that would be absolutely, we need a community center here in Pewaukee. We need a place for our seniors to go. We need a place for our kids to be. We need a place where we can have meetings that aren't always relying on the school. I think we have so many community organizations, including the food pantry, that needs housing in a dedicated location. So that would be my fantasy.
I didn't prompt her on that.
Well, I've been friends with Elaine long enough that if I didn't say that, she would never take me out to lunch again. So that's probably why. But I truly believe that we definitely need a place here in the village. I drive by other communities, I see these awesome community centers, and I'm like, ooh, we need one of those, so.
I second your comments, some of those things I was gonna bring up. Yeah, walking, jogging, it's a problem. There's sidewalks on one side of the street, not on the other side. That's an issue. I think the village is really, really well managed overall. I have a little pet peeve about the weeds in the lake. And come August, the lake becomes, less of a fun thing because of the weeds and how they're managed. And I think that there's room for improvement in the way that the weeds are managed and handled. And I would love for that to get fixed, or at least move forward. So, those are my issues.
And last but not least, President Hughes.
I have a list. Well, I'll tell you, like Bob, if I had all the money in the world, or money enough, redesigning the downtown would have been a very good thing. In fact, Bob and I have met, and a trustee that is now on the board, but was on the planning commission, we've discussed this. It'd have been nice if the road was behind the buildings, so we could close the road off and make that a pedestrian walkway with tables out there and just be able to enjoy the lake. A community center has always been on my radar. We've looked at 2 different buildings in the village before, or actually 3 buildings, before we decided the cost renovations to make it a community center would just be worse than by building a new one. I think that's a very important building in this community that we don't have, and I believe the city would definitely utilize it also, the city residents. The park downtown would have a beautiful building down there. Parking wouldn't be an issue. But the triangle that Bob was explaining before is something that we need to develop. And we have a trustee right now that's not running, that is working with Madison, I believe it is, on an idea of what the downtown could look like. And hopefully that'll come to tuition within the next year or so. I believe it's free too. I'm not sure on that. Can't remember if there's a cost.
Very cost effective.
Yes. So, it's just, there's a lot of things that we would like to do. I agree with getting the state to give us our money that they really should be giving us would be the first step, but that's up in Madison. There's nothing we can do about that. But we do very well, I believe, with the money that we have gotten. We do have a new DPW building for the first time in over 40 years, I believe it is. I think it was built in the 60s. And we've approved that, and I hope everybody gets a chance once it's done, which will be in June, to at least stop by and take a look. We may be able to get a tour, not sure, because of, you know, the risk, but, I think we probably will have an open house so everybody can look at the new building. You're gonna be very proud of it. And there's other things that I think will be coming along, and I'll tell you, the village has got a lot of great things. We have a great police department, best fire department in the state. I mean, it's just so lucky for all of us to be living here. It really is, and I'm so thankful and appreciate all the time and effort that everybody here on the board or going to maybe be on the board will do when they do get elected. And there are some trustees here, and I thank them for their time, and commission members. And people, please, I think there's some people here that have made calls to the village, and hopefully we have taken care of the issues. If not, I wanna know about it, cause I'll make sure it gets taken care of, or have a good answer why it wasn't. So with that, I'd like to say thank you again to everybody, and to the 5 people running, the very best of luck. Just remember, I have 2 rules. One is I'm right. The second one is if you're in doubt, refer to Rule 1. So you'll have no problem being on the board.
Well, thank you all so much for coming, we really appreciate it. The school has said we can stay as long as we would like, so if you'd like to, talk to them individually and have questions, feel free. And thank you all so much, but mostly thanks to my kids.